Hi, it's Liz. You'll have to excuse my morning voice as I'm not feeling that great and I didn't sleep well. So I realize that my voice is deeper than usual. If you've seen my previous video on this particular Smash book, you know what it looked like empty. I've actually had a couple of requests to fill it now that it's filled up with journaling and things. So that's what this is. It's a project share showing my filled Smash book / junk journal. My junk journals just don't tend to be very junky, but it is what it is. Earlier this year, I actually was out of work. I lost my job, and in order to avoid kind of falling into that pit of depression and having nothing to do, I decided to learn Zentangle. So if you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to Google it or look it up in whatever way you do. It's billed as like a meditative art form. So I decided to use my journal to keep my Zentangles and art in, and then also like journal as I learn the process and my opinions on it, etc. and so forth. So I did add like a loop to hold my pens, and it turned out pretty good because even with the pens in, it was still not massively fat. You can see how beat up the journal has become. I was carrying it with me everywhere for a while. So okay, so first I started just by looking up what a Zentangle is, how they work. There's all these rules by the two creators, and so I first tried to teach myself. And so my first Zentangle doesn't look anything like what other Zentangles look like. So after I realized I didn't really know what I was doing, I went and I started learning patterns, and I started keeping track of the different patterns as I went. Right, journaling as I go. So it's going to be a pretty quick flip through. I made my own tangles. Right, each time I did a tile, I would try to journal about it. You could see that my my journaling. My tiles start getting a little more sophisticated slowly but surely as I went. And every time I learned a new pattern, a new tangle, I'd put it in there. My opinions as to whether or not I found it to be actually meditative. You don't really want to read all my journaling, I'm sure. You see, they start changing as I went, and the more I learned, and the more videos I watched, and the more books and magazines I read. They say it's not doodling and that you're not allowed to compare it to doodling because doodling is in a different state of mind. However, I find doodling is meditative. I don't find tangling meditative. However, I did definitely find it takes up a lot of time, which is what I needed. I would sit down and start like doing tangles, and I could sit there for 6 to 8 hours, and the day would be past, and I would not have like been in bed feeling sorry for myself. So shading was something I never really quite got the hang of. There's some tangles there. Then I decided to start trying Zentangle inspired art. I thought that resonated with me a lot more than with the little tiles. I think the tiles are 3x3. A lot of people do feathers, so I wanted to try that. I thought that was pretty cool. Behind here are just journals about the tangles that are in covering those pockets up. Sometimes I would see patterns online and I didn't know what their official name was or anything like that. Here is one. I like the Rohan banners from Lord of the Rings. I was actually playing Lego Lord of the Rings, and I copied the horse and tangled it. And then this was my first attempt at a mandala. Those of you that know my art know that I do a lot of zandalas now. Those have become kind of my big thing. Some doodles. Right, I was learning how to do paisley. And then there came a point where I think I just discovered that the Zentangle inspired art was much more what I wanted to do, bigger pieces. And so my pieces actually started getting bigger and bigger. Currently, the majority of my pieces, excuse me, are, I don't know, like 18 by 22. So these are all the seahorse that I did. Another feather. And here is a fish. I actually, I drew this fish when I did iris folding. I used it as a template I made, so I just recopied it and tangled it. Sorry, I'm coughing so much. It's just one of those days. These two jellies are huge. They couldn't fit in here, and I didn't want to fold them up, so I just took photographs of them. And then here's a little jelly that I colored in. Here's a photograph of a peacock. If you want to see more of my Zentangle art, I do have Pinterest. I do have a board on Pinterest. That's my Zentangle inspired art. So, started doing on different scrapbook papers and things. Just my journaling on the back. These list papers are so great, so I've started incorporating them into my junk journals now because, oops, came a point I think where I just didn't quite fill in the whole book. I think I reached a point where I was like, okay, well, I dropped the camera. So anyway, I didn't quite finish filling it up. There's a few blank pages because I decided to move on to Zentangle inspired art. So that envelope I used to fill it up with tiles, and then I put some of those list papers so I could journal on. So that is my completed Zentangle junk journal. Used up. Thanks for watching.